So it has been a minute since I've done this, or at least it feels like that anyway. Had a few videos last week that I did and then I didn't like them, or they just took too long to get uploaded, that I got impatient and deleted. So I took a little bit of a break. Been kind of a lot going on in the meantime. I don't remember where I left off for the last time. So I'll go here. Wednesday last week was the day that I had some... okay, I was getting ready to walk the dogs, and I had this thought pop into my head. Cemetery. That I should go to the cemetery that day, right? And I just kind of shrugged it off, whatever. And it's like, yeah, park was so nice yesterday. So we're just going to do that again. So we went to the to the park, and there was some... it was fine, except for the little old lady with her dog off the leash. So we got to a turnaround point, and as we were walking back, I see this dog coming toward us without a leash. It stopped and was waiting on its owner at one point, but definitely did not have a leash on. That's one of my big pet peeves. I absolutely loathe when people let their dogs off the leash because their dog's friendly. It doesn't matter. It's like, if your dog is friendly, I don't care. I want your dog to stay in your space with you and not approach me and my dogs that are a little temperamental about meeting new dogs, especially in their face. So I was trying to avoid the little old lady, and so I saw the dog, and she was 30 feet behind the dog. So we stopped at this little gazebo on the path, and it was literally the only path in and out that place. The path goes almost to the road, literally loops and goes right back. So there was nowhere else to go unless we were cutting through the field, and I didn't want to do that either. So we go to the gazebo, and we're waiting. And then, of course, I see her stop and put her dog on the leash. And then she's coming straight for that damn gazebo. It's okay. So obviously that little intuitive hit saying cemetery meant something at that point. And of course it was this day I have this Earth Day kind of a shirt. It's got, it says love, and the O is a heart globe. And I was wearing that. It's I do not feel loving at all today. And I'm so glad that I wore the shirt when I'm so pissed at this lady right at this moment. So, yeah, she ended up going toward the gazebo. So when I saw a little bit of a chance when I could go around them and get away from it before she got too close without getting too close on the path to her, we took it, and we all but ran out of that place. But it was really frustrating. And then I talked about it in group that night, and after group, I don't even remember what the conversation was. There was a small group of us. There's only 4 of us last week that went to the little Mexican restaurant afterwards. Normally there's anywhere from 6 to 12 of us. So yeah, usually 6 to 8 is kind of standard. But we've kind of had both extremes. So yeah, last week, for whatever reason, there was only 4 of us. And I don't remember exactly what the conversation was at this point, but it was I had this sort of epiphany, I guess, about the importance of paying attention to the intuition, even if it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. And it was literally just the one word, cemetery. And I was but I don't need to do that today because yesterday was so great. Yeah. So I did not do what my intuition told me to do, and it bit me in the ass. Yeah. I don't know if I told that story and actually posted a video where I talked about that, because like I said, I don't remember what what has happened. I've done I think 4 or 5 videos that for whatever reason, I have not posted lately. Ouch. Oh, that's cool. Get my freaking headphones caught in my hair. Yeah, so I don't know where it was. But anyway, that was all, as I came to realize the next day, the big, I guess, my intuition impressing upon me the importance of listening to it, right? So what happened on Thursday was I was over at my grandma's house babysitting my grandma, basically, while the painters were there in case they needed anything or whatever. Also, yeah, so my brother calls and he says, "Are mom and dad around where they could hear you talking?" I said, "No." I said, "But I'm at grandma's." He said, "Well, is anybody there where they could hear you?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, call me back when nobody's around." It's like, wait a second. It's like, hold on, I'll just go in the other room. So I went out in the garage, and he said that Jen had gotten a job offer in Oklahoma and had accepted it. And so we were kind of talking about some things with that. I've mentioned that they, back in December, they had said that I could go with them whenever they move. And this is where that big intuition piece came in at. When we were talking on the phone, it was just very, I just felt really confident. It's like, that is not my opportunity. And I've talked about how I didn't think that living with her was necessarily the best of ideas for me. I just, yeah, kind of some similar behavioral things. That's pretty cool. I just pulled that off of my sports bra or out of my shirt. I'm not sure. Matches both. So, probably the shirt. Anyway, yeah, I was just, when we were talking on the phone, I just felt very confident that that was not the opportunity that I was meant to take on getting out of here. So, no amount of desperation on my end, which I'm not really desperate at this point, just more tedious trying to navigate how to get along with the people around here at the moment. But we're figuring it out. We will get there, right? And one of the big things on Wednesday, like we were talking about, like different, like kind of skills development kind of a thing, I guess. And I felt strongly that I'm not done with that group just yet also. So there was a part of where that immediate decision on the Oklahoma move came in at. It's just not for me, and that's okay. They said, my brother said that they would be coming over on Saturday to talk to the parents about them, break the news to them. So, Friday, I was thinking about running to Greenfield to go to the library, and I wanted to get a couple colors of paint. And I was like getting ready to motivate in that direction, and all at once the dogs start barking, and I look out my office window, and my brother's family's there. It's like, oh boy. Okay, I thought that was it was going to be tomorrow, but apparently it's today now, so here's this thing. So I didn't leave right away. And they came in, my mom was laying down, because of course she wasn't expecting them, so I said, let me go get mom. My dad's sitting in the family room, and all's fine and well. And I go back and I tell my mom that the kid's here, and she like comes flying out in the other room, and I was like, I don't know if I stopped in the office or in my room to do something on the way, or maybe even the bathroom. I don't know. For some reason, I didn't get out there before my mom got back out there, and they dropped the ball before, or they told her before I even got out there, but then all at once Gracie comes flying back to find me and says, Sarah, we need you. And it's like, okay. So I'm going back in there, and they've already told her, and at some point she got the waterworks going and all that fun stuff, and she's just dead set convinced, and there's nothing you can tell her otherwise, that they're specifically moving to get away from her, kind of a thing. It's like, it's not entirely wrong, but there's just so many layers to that, right? That's a deep subject right there. And it is windy as fuck. I came over here and I skated, and I got 6 miles in, and I was shooting for 14, and like the wind just kept picking up, and it's like my first mile I did in like 10 minutes and 45 seconds. By the time I got to the final mile, it was 12 minutes and 40 seconds. Like, screw this, I'm done. I do not have that kind of want to today. So, with this lovely wind, yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, it went about as well as we anticipated, and just a whole lot of drama. And my dad occasionally was spouting off like random passive-aggressive statements, and then when my brother say something about, what do you mean by that, or elaborate or something, then he'd just be like, oh, no, it's just, it's a passive-aggressive statement, and then backtrack and can't explain what it is or anything. It's like, whatever. What finally ended up happening, because Gracie started getting kind of uncomfortable and was kind of trying to get in her dad's face, and it wasn't real helpful, so we went back into my room. I distracted her with the fact that she hasn't been around much to see how I've rearranged my office and my bedroom, and the fact that they switched places now. So we went and were sidetracked on that end. I could hear them yelling in the other room, kind of elevated voices anyway, until Gracie decided she wanted to watch a movie. We only watched like 2 minutes of Happy Feet, and then my brother came in and said, hey, we're ready to go. It's like, okay. And then that was a whole ordeal. So they left, and I went into the kitchen for a minute. I think I set something down. It was before I got ready. I was getting ready to go, but I think I set my water cup in there or something. And when my mom looked at me, like the way she looked at me felt like she thought it was my fault somehow. And she didn't say that. But I went back into the other room, and then went and was putting my shoes on in the living room just around the corner. My brother sent a message. I was trying to figure out. But anyway. I was putting my shoes on, sitting on the couch in the living room, right around the corner from the kitchen. And I hear my mom say, you know what they're going to do next, don't you? They're going to try to talk Sarah into going with them. And of course, since I already had this thought process, and it's like, yeah, that's not my opportunity. When she said that, I was just like, Sarah has no interest in going to Oklahoma. She is, however, going to Greenfield. And then I went back and did something else. And when I went into the kitchen, my mom looks at me and she says, what do you need in Greenfield? It's like, or what are you doing in Greenfield? I said, going to the library and going to Walmart briefly to get a couple paints. And she says, I need grapes. It's like, do you want to go? And my dad says, I think that'd be a good idea. And she says, yeah, I think I do. It's like, oh boy. So, grab my handy little headphones, because I ain't hanging out with my mom without my headphones. That is like kind of a rule at this point. If I'm going to be around the family, I'm going to have those headphones handy in case I need to tune any stupidity out. Because it's pretty much guaranteed to happen at some point. Usually I can just leave, but not always. Sometimes it's more convenient to have that going before anything comes up and then just kind of play it by ear. Anyway, so she decides she wants to go. Kitty. I think I probably went in my office and messaged my brother. This is probably what I did. I just gotta, sorry man. It's like, yeah, thanks. Anyway, so then there's this whole ordeal that we have to wait on my aunt to bring something. She got like, apparently there was some sort of deal on pizzas at the 7-Eleven, and I don't even know where there's a 7-Eleven from here. But that's what's on the, well, I don't know that for sure that it came from the 7-Eleven, but it does say 7-Eleven on it somewhere, so I don't know if they're selling things elsewhere or where it came from. But she had gotten them some, us a couple, and my grandma one, and so my mom said we couldn't go until they got there with the pizzas. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the library in town and see if there's anything there that I want, since my library trip's potentially getting shot in the butt, since it's already like 4:30 and now we gotta wait on my aunt and they close at 6 and all this stuff. It's like, a lot of times when my aunts come over, like they'll kind of move in and park for a while and just want to chit chat, and I figured that would probably be the case that day because my brother had just dropped that news. But they must have rushed him out of there or something, because they were not there when I got back, which I was surprised. So I got some movies and a couple books from the library, and then got back and they were gone already, so we went ahead and got ready to go. And on the way to Greenfield, my mom's friend calls, the one that I pet sit / house sit for periodically, and she had asked me recently if I would still be able to kind of like do a collaborative effort of dog sitting with her niece again in May. And basically the niece can stay overnight, but then once she leaves for work, she's not going to be able to go check on her, or go check on the dog during the day. So I'll go check on him during the day and then feed him and all that stuff, give him his insulin and all that good stuff. And then she'll deal with him the rest of the evening. And it works out. We both get paid and it's fine. But when the friend had asked me about it the other day, I said, as of right now, I will most likely be available. I said, I am, however, trying to manifest my way out of this situation. And she knows a bit about what's going on, especially with how my mom's been with my grandfather's death and all that chaos and, yeah. And she knows how my mom is. That's the big thing. They've been friends for over 30 years. She knows how she is. So, especially, she called me a few times to check in on how everything was going while my mom was living at the hospital with my grandfather, and it's like, So she knows that me and my brother have been kind of pushing away, and trying to disconnect because we don't want to deal with all the negativity. She absolutely gets and appreciates that whole not wanting to deal with the negativity piece. And, and of course she gets that point on how I feel like I literally was raised only to continue this toxic cycle, and I want to have my own life, and I'm finally realizing why I haven't been able to have my own life, so now I'm pushing back so I can try to have my own life. So she knows a lot about a lot of things, but she doesn't know all of the things. But she calls when we're on our way, and just wanting to check in and see how everything's going. And my aunt was texting my mom in this time, and my aunt says that my grandma wasn't doing well. She was on the toilet, and she was going to need help getting her off of the toilet. And I just said, if she's that bad, call the fire department. I said, call the non-emergency line. They are available for this purpose. If you need help getting old people up and down and whatnot, they are available to do these kind of things. They're probably pretty familiar with my grandmother anyway, because we've had to call plenty of times on her or my grandfather in the past, couple years. So, I mean, yeah, they're familiar with them. Anyway, I said that the friend confirmed that yes, they do that, and that is a good idea. And then my mom said, I paused for a second, and the friend paused, and then I said, or am I taking you back to Grandma's house and going to Greenfield by myself? She said, no. It's like, all right. So we kept going, and she told my aunt to have my uncle help, and of course that probably just thrilled all of them to death, especially my grandma with that particular uncle. That is not her favorite son-in-law by any means. That is actually probably the least favorite, and my dad, he's not real favorable on her list either, but it's not the favorite, but the least favorite got to help. So yeah. And the friend said, well, the spouses are going to have to step up too if that's what it's coming to. So, and mom's going on about, I don't think she'd be able to live on her own if we weren't so close to be able to help, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. So I had my headphones on like the entire way out there. I was just playing that Apage Satana song that is really helpful in keeping my parents and their bullshit kind of at bay when I'm listening to it. It's like just playing it for me. It's like it limits them on their bullshit and how much they can affect me with it. So, I had that song just playing on repeat the entire time we're gone, right? As we got close to the library, Mom asked if I was going to stop there. I said, yes, I am. I said, I went to the other one because I wasn't sure I would be able to have time to go to this one. But since I do, I'm going in there for like 5, maybe 10-minute stops. Just one, I know they have a better book selection for like the type of books I want than the one nearby. They have like, I don't know, I got a book that's like, I don't remember what it's called. Something with the Shaman's Way of Prayer or something. I'll put it in the description. I've been reading it. It's a really good book. And there were a few things that I got from there. But like that book, I like read like the first 60 pages in the first night. And then I've been going through a little at a time since then. Yeah. So, on the way back, when we went to Walmart, I went in, like, first thing I had to do was run to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, then I went up to the picture frames, and somebody was there stocking shelves, so I went over to the paint, and then got like 5 paints that I really liked. And then I went back to the frames, and the guy was gone. So I grabbed some little cheapy frames. I'm going to paint them and then see about the Etsy thing that I have threatened a time or three on here before. I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot, right? So I got my frames, I got my paint. I went up to I decided that I was just going to go ahead and pay for it, take it out to the car, and then find my mom, figure out if she needed help with anything. 'Cause you never know with her. Sometimes she's going just for grapes. Other times that it ends up becoming a whole grocery shopping thing. So it's like, you don't know what to expect. So I just got my stuff, paid for it, went out to the car and put it up, and then came back in and found her. And she was done, surprisingly. And, you know, if we go through and I'm helping her at the self-checkout line, and she stops and looks at me and she says, "Where's your paint?" It's like, "It's in the car." She's like, you're done already? It's like, yes. It's like, I figured since I had some other things that it would be easier to just throw it in the car and then not have to carry it around, or put it in the cart and then pull it all back out of the cart or whatever. So, yeah. So, we get to the car and I say, "Are we going anywhere else?" And she says, "Yeah, I want ice cream." Okay. It's like, well, do you want Culver's? Do you want Frosty Boy? Do you want Dairy Queen? It's like, I don't care. It's like, okay. It's like, well, clearly Culver's is not easy to get to because it would have been a right-hand turn out of Walmart, but then there's a median in the way, and it was on the other side of the road. But then it's like, wait, there is a back way to get to the other road, so we did end up going to Culver's. Then, you know, since we're going to the drive up, and it's actually the intercom thing rather than, sometimes there's a person out there or a couple of people. This time both intercoms were open, so we just went to the second one. And since I was there, I paused my music, took the headphones off so I could hear. I mean, I think these are like, what, bone conduction or something, and I can hear most of what's going on around them unless I have the music turned way up. And usually if I'm with the family, I don't have it turned all the way up, so I can still hear if I need to be included in the conversation, but also be available if I don't need to. Yeah. So then we go and get our food, and as we're driving back home, then she comes in with it because I didn't put my headphones back on. And she starts in with talking about how they be pulling Gracie out of school and they probably haven't thought about her needs and if they're going to be available in Oklahoma and blah, 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 since she's autistic and, you know, has some, I don't know what all, she has assistance during the day, which it sounds like I don't know all those details. Anyway, my mom just starts in with like all these different things and trying to be negative, trying to assume that they haven't thought of anything, and I kind of shut her down, and I was just like, okay. I said, not my kid. I said, that is their kid, so I'm pretty sure they think about more of this stuff than you think they do. Big old vulture flying over. And he doesn't look like he's doing any better on flying in this than I was doing skating. So, hey, that's a little bit comforting. But, yeah. Anyway, there were 3 of them. I don't know where the other 2 went. But, you know, I just said, I'm pretty sure they've given it more thought than you think they have. And she just stops and says, "Why am I not allowed to talk to you?" I said, "Because quite frankly, you always go negative and assume everybody is stupid unless you insert yourself over the top of whatever anybody's thinking or doing." And that was it. She didn't say another thing. She went to texting her sisters instead. It's like, I'm done beating around the bush on this one. It's like, we're just Here it is. You want to know why? This is why. So, yeah. She didn't say anything else that day. That was Friday. She has these moments where she will ask me something and it's like she's just trying to get information out of me. Yesterday, I don't remember. No, Sunday, she wanted to talk about going to the zoo today because it's so nice. It is nice. It's like in the 70s. It's fabulous. I love it. And that's why I skated. Every now and then it looks like I have like green right there or something. Probably makeup did something funky. Anyway, so she was talking about the zoo for today. It's like, nope, that's not going to work. It's like, first off, Gidget had her annual exam at 11:30 today, so that's right in the inconvenient time if you are going to the zoo, because, you know, we like to get there around like 9 and hopefully end up in the parking lot and not be extra parking lot where you have to take the bus to the spot. So, yeah, but Gracie has been kind of not feeling well, or she wasn't feeling well for like over the weekend. And I said, also, Gracie's apparently not feeling well. So she's like, what's wrong with Gracie? It's like, okay. It's like, why don't you ask the others? You know, they are the parents after all. They are the ones that have been spending the most time with her. And, you know, I haven't really seen her much. But yeah. So she did, I think she has started sending them messages, but what she does is she goes a long time without it, and then she asks like 6 or 7 questions at one time. And then, yeah, it's really tedious, and it's a whole thing. So, we did not go to the zoo. Okay, and yesterday, all last week I remembered Gracie's meeting, the team meeting for the respite care through the company that she gets services through, that I also am employed through, right? So there's this meeting yesterday at 2:30. I remembered it all last week. Sunday was the first I really hadn't put any thought into it and didn't remind myself again. And then yesterday, like, I was sitting in my office. I don't even know what I was thinking or what I was just sitting there, honestly. I had watched like some tarot reading or something, and I was just kind of thinking, and I got like really set on wanting to paint my bathroom. I did not start painting my bathroom, however. I went out and played ball with Gidge for a minute, and then I went back in, and as I was going in the house, I sent Ben a text and said, I think I'm gonna paint my bathroom. And then got an immediate response back, I thought, and it was like 2:36, and my brother sends a message and says, hey, are you gonna be able to make it? And it's like, shit. It's like, how did I do that again? You know, because I literally just did that with the freaking CPR class. Like, I was signed up for one on February 28th, and then I completely spaced it. And then that one, which was on the 10th, the other one that they had available, she reminded me as well, and then I like kept going back to it. Do not forget this. You know, just kind of trying to beat it into my head. And I did make it. I was like 5 minutes late, but yeah, whatever. It was one of those things too, when I went in the class, I had this really strong sense that it's like this, I feel like I've done this so many times, and this is very much the last time I'm going to be in one of these classes. Of course, I worked in healthcare for just shy of a decade. So, you know, and actually I've did different. Okay, I worked at the group home for just shy of a decade. I started like the CPR classes when I was in high school, and there was some babysitting thing that I got talked into doing or whatever. It's like, okay, fine, and then whatever. Then the group home stuff, and then, of course, military basic kind of med stuff. Nothing like real deep because I was not a medic, but still there's like so many of those courses that you have to take too, so just the things, man, the things. And then of course this job, so because it is a healthcare type group, even though Gracie's the only one that I work with, still never know. But yeah, when I was in the class, it's just, I really feel like I'm done with this. Yeah. So I got it for the next 3 years or whatever. I got the little card, whatever. Happy day. Yeah, that was a weird thing too. Like in the class, there was a girl that I went to school with. I think she was a year or two behind me. And I knew who she was, and she was there in the class, and we've like crossed paths a few times, and I don't know what she does or anything. I haven't spoken to her. I don't know if I've ever spoken to her, to be honest. I just kind of loosely knew who she was. But like at one point she was talking about her cats, and the guy kept talking about his dogs, and like he was really into, he's a big dog person, and even though he's making fun of some of them, I forget what the one kind he had was, but then they had like 3 French bulldogs or whatever, and he kept making fun of those. And he said one of them is named Remy, because they were in Disney or there was some sort of story with Disney, and so they named him Remy. It's like, well, you did name him after a rat. So he was talking about how terrible this dog was for a long time, and then he started he gave him a nickname of something that's basically the equivalent of shark bait. And then the dog started behaving. It's like, well, you did basically name him after a rat. And he's like, I know. It's like, what do you expect? But anyway, this girl starts talking about her cats, and she keeps what's she call him? Mancoon or something. And immediately I was thinking Maine Coon. It's like, familiar with those. I don't have cats currently. I've had 3 different cats in my lifetime, but not that kind. But I'm familiar enough with cats, right? But she just kept saying it weird, like Mancoon. It's like, or is she talking about something else? I don't know cats that well, so maybe there's something else out there. Anyway, he's like kind of making fun of the cat people, kind of loosely, and he's like, what the hell is this? And then he said, somebody said, I think he said, how do you spell it? And like, they were just kind of guesstimating, I think, because there were a couple different people that were like, is this? And he looks at me all weird, and everything in me just kept saying that is a Maine Coon that she's trying to talk about. It's like, whatever. But she said they're like from Russia or whatever. It's like, whatever. I don't know what she's talking about. I'm just not my thing. And then the guy looks at me and he's like, do you know what this is? It's like, I said, I don't know if it's the same thing. I said, the only thing I can think of that comes to mind when she says this is Maine Coon, like the state Maine. And she just says, well, there's different kinds. It's like, okay. It's like, I wasn't trying to be a part of the conversation, and he just kind of drugged me into it. It's like, nah. It's like, whatever. It's what it is. I have no attachment to it, but it's just kind of like a weird kind of a thing, because like, I wasn't about to insert myself in the middle of this conversation, but then the guy looked at me and asked me specifically if I'd ever heard of this crap, and it's like, it's like, kind of, but I don't know if it's exactly what she's talking about. But yeah, so I did Google it afterwards, and Maine Coon is what came up when I was trying to guesstimate any other ways of spelling and whatnot. And it's just like, nope. And the only thing that came up that was talking about Russian breeds was a Russian blue. It's like, that's definitely not the same thing. So it's like, I don't know. But that was kind of a weird thing. It's like, why am I getting drug into this? And then, well, I feel I don't think I finished that story when I mentioned it the last time. If I actually posted the video where I talked about it the last time, so but it was like, I think the big thing was that I was actively trying to avoid inserting myself, but then when attention came to me and they asked me specifically, I mean, because I feel like the old version of me probably would have just blown it off and I don't know what they're talking about and just like play dumb, I guess. But like current me is like, no, I'll tell you this, I don't know if it's the same thing that they're talking about, but this is the one that came to mind. Especially since she's talking about how they're like the size of dogs or whatever, and that's the only one that I've ever heard of that was like that. But whatever, like I said, I don't know cats. I don't I'm vaguely familiar with some. I do like cats, but I don't have them currently. I'm really sad that I left Aphrodite with my ex. I hated having to do that, but there was no way in my logical mind I could make sense of moving like 10 birds, 3 dogs, and a cat into one bedroom at my parents' house, and they have a dog door. So it's like, that's not going to work with a cat, right? And I can't leave it locked in the room with the birds all the time either. It's like, that is all sorts of dangerous. So, yeah, so I rationalized that I was leaving it behind for my stepson, or my ex-stepson. So hopefully everything's fine with her. I did notice I added this app for the vet that I take my dogs to, and they still had the cat in there. It's like, oh, she would be 14 now? Holy crap. So that cat was awesome. Yeah. Anyway, so my brother and I have kind of been talking back and forth, obviously, and you know, we just been going back and forth like the different epiphanies and stuff. And the other day, okay, on Saturday, I went on a real quick trip back to the local library, and it was getting ready to storm. So it was like, this is going to be like very short and sweet. But like the movies I had gotten at the night before, my mom had, she looked at what I had and was like, oh, well, we got some good stuff to watch. It's like, okay. So I went ahead and went back to the library I was like, okay, they have a 7-disc set of the Saw movies, right? And I've gotten it before, and I had made it through the first 3. I was like, well, I have a lot of cleaning I need to do right now, so that would be something good to watch while I'm cleaning in my room, right? So I have made it through. Okay, so I stop at the library to get this specific disc set, right? And I go on the row that I know the S's are on. There's like SA was on the other side. So I ended up going around the corner. But before I got there, it was like, oh, they also have, what was it? I think I got distracted with The Shining. My package got to the house, so I want to get there before, hopefully I'll get it before my parents get there, because I don't want them involved at all in my zoo package. They need to know nothing about what I'm getting out of this, my bear winning the thing. Yeah. So anyway, it's getting ready to storm, and I know this, and like I can see it rolling in, I can see where it's raining. I'm not hearing any thunder or anything. I did have the windows cracked a little bit because it was nice that day. I just walked the dogs, and it's like, all right. I said, we're stopping very quickly. It will be a short trip. And Taz started barking the second I got out of the car and did not stop until I got back. So it was motivation to keep going anyway. But yeah, so I get in there. I grabbed The Shining, then I realized when I was going through my stuff and thinning out my DVDs that I had that one. It's like, oh, well, I don't need to get this to watch, so I can just go back. But anyway, they also had like I think it has the 6 of the Scream movies. I don't know how many there are, honestly. And then there was the 7-disc set of the Saw movies, and then they also had an 8-disc set. It's like, I don't know. Aren't there like 10 or something anyway? I don't know. So I grabbed the one that had the 8 discs in it, and I think Jigsaw's the one that I have left to watch. But yeah. So that's been the big thing that I've been doing, is cleaning and working on thinning stuff out in my room and purging. I have like this big ass box of DVDs that I've decided I have no attachment to these and I'm gonna get rid of them. And then I also found a movie that, okay, when I was in undergrad, I got really into like big band and swing music and like old World War II movies and whatnot. And there was a movie that I found that I loved. It was called The Best Years of Our Lives. And at one point, I'd gotten it, right? And it seems like, because when I was at the house my junior year in undergrad that was off campus, we had Turner Classic Movies. So I got into watching just like random movies and whatnot, and loved that channel. And I think I saw the movie there, and then ended up buying it at one point. And I wanted to say, like, the DVD I think cut out at some point, and I don't know if I was able to get it back or if it was just like the DVD was shit. So I ended up losing that one. I want to say I finally got it to play, but I'm not 100%. Apparently, at some point in the past few years, I wanted to watch it and couldn't find it and didn't have TCM anymore. And I mean, and even then, you're not going to be able to request it. So it's like, is it on the little guide to be played anytime in the near future? But I ended up buying it again because I couldn't find the one that I had. But now I found both of them, so it's like, hey, now I need to watch the one in the better case and see if that was the one that played all the way through good, or if there was a problem with it, and then maybe I'll just like switch out whichever DVD. I don't know, and then the other one can go in the trash if it doesn't work. But yeah, so 2 copies of that, 2 copies of 21 Jump Street with Channing Tatum, and I see his face. Is it Jonah something? I feel like it is, and yet I'm drawing a blank. Sorry. Yeah, but there was 2 copies of 21 Jump Street, and one of them was a 2-disc set that also had 22 Jump Street or whatever. And yeah, that's gonna annoy me that I can't think of that guy's name. I see so many things that he's in, and I can see his face, but I cannot see his name. Anyway, yeah, so I have been productive on thinning stuff out. I got my scrapbooking stuff pulled out of the closet, so now I need to compile it with the stuff that I have actual scrapbooks, to put like a lot of scrapbook shit for sale on Facebook, so I can get it out of my space. Need to link up with Ben so he can get this damn Nintendo stuff out of my space, because it just needs to get out of my space. Yeah, but now, like, my brother and his family are going through things and purging things too, so of course they wouldn't want it. Well, they didn't want it anyway, because they just kind of have been moving it like I was. It's like, in theory, we were gonna work with Gracie on it, but then at the same time, it's like, she got really frustrated like the times I did anything with her, and I think part of it was she wasn't quite ready for that. So, yeah. And now life is Roblox, and if it's not Roblox, she don't care. So yeah. But we've kind of been going back and forth with stuff with the parenting, whatnot. Oh, that's where that tangent went. So while I was watching one of the Saw movies the other day, and cleaning, I got sidetracked with my phone, and ended up on YouTube, and this lady popped up on my suggestions, and I used to subscribe to her channel, and it's Dr. Ramani, is her name? Okay, so when I moved back from Alabama and was going through my divorce, I got this book from the library, and it's called Should I Stay or Should I Go? It's something about surviving a relationship with the narcissist or whatever. And I got it, and I read it, and it's like, oh. And part of it was talking about how if you find yourself in a situation where you're in a close relationship with one of these types, I mean, there's a good chance it's not the first one you've had, and there's a reason that you have been inclined to end up in that situation, right? And talking about, parental issues with narcissists and whatnot. And yeah, so it was kind of a big thing back then. And I read the book, loved the book, ended up buying the book, so I had my own copy of it, and will occasionally flip through it. For a while, I don't think it was immediately after I read the book. I think there was several months after. I found her channel on YouTube. Excuse me. And, of course, it's talking a lot about, she's a clinical psychologist that works with people with it. I mean, survivors of like narcissistic relationships, as well as like dealing with like the narcissists themselves and all that fun stuff. And I don't know why it popped up, but it popped up, and because the universe said it was time for me to see these. It's basically the thing. I had subscribed to her channel for a little while, but then it's like everything that came up was about narcissism. It's like, I'm not trying to keep drawing these types of relationships into my life. I'm trying to like disconnect from that, figure out how I got there with my ex to begin with, and then how can I get the hell out of it and never have to deal with it again. And so that's been the big thing that I've been working on. So for a while, I unsubscribed to her channel because I didn't want all the flooding of this information that I was getting bombarded with. And I kind of got hit with that again since I stopped and watched some of the videos. There's like 4 other people that have popped up. It's like, no, we're not doing that. I just want what she has to say about it because I know she's good and she knows what she's talking about. I don't know who these other people are, and I really just don't want to continue engaging with like this kind of extensive bullshit on things. Like, I think one guy is more relationship focused and kind of like does little spoofs of just playing the different kind of characters and going back and forth with, and it's like, that's not what I'm looking for at this point. It's like literally Dr. Ramani shows up on my stuff. It's like, I like her stuff. The thing got my attention. What does she have to say today? Of course, these videos are like 4 years ago or whatever, but it doesn't matter, right? They're still relevant. And yeah. And like, I don't even remember what the first 2 I watched were, but I sent them to my brother. I haven't sent him all of them, but like some of the stuff that talks about what we are specifically going through. It's like, yep, you need to watch this. And, we kind of have this, our go-to emoji at the moment is like the little face that has like the spinny eyes. It's like, yep, this again, and basically the conversation with the parents, it's the ones with the spinny eyes, and it's like got the little circle thing above his head, like the world is spinning kind of, or well, head is spinning kind of a thing. And the other one with like the straight lines, like the eyes are closed, and it's just like a fuck kind of a face. Yeah. Anyway, those are our two go-tos right now. Like anything dealing with our parents and like trying to unravel this nonsense and like the passive-aggressive bullshit that we get hit with just like out of the blue, or like the, hey, now you've said some things that pissed me off, so now you're gonna have to talk to me anyway. So now that you opened the door on the conversation again, now I can just like start bombarding you with questions that I wouldn't ask you when I was giving you the silent treatment and all that bullshit. But anyway, the last one of these videos that I watched the other day, it was talking, actually I think Mid-Range was the one that I watched last. It's like, that's totally my family. And I don't think that was the one that, there was one of the videos, she talked about the people that the narcissists really struggle with are the truth tellers. And it's like they can see straight into who they are, see straight into the wound that causes the narcissistic person to act this way, and can speak to that, and it scares the shit out of the narcissist, and therefore, they are frequently scapegoated in their family. It's like, that's me. And I've talked about this on here a few times, where, okay, after my grandparents moved from Oklahoma back to Indiana, there's that theme again. Yeah. My brother and sister-in-law lived out there before. They were also in Texas and Arizona before they moved back to Indiana, but now they're going back that way. So, yeah. That makes me think of something else too, but I'm going to finish the story first and hopefully get back to that. Yeah. So I told this story on here a few times, where when I was 8 and my grandparents moved back from Oklahoma, I think this is actually one of those big triggering things on like where everything started going wrong in my life. And I don't remember what I said, but I remember my grandfather looking at me like horrified, and the only way I can think to describe it, because it wasn't so much what was said after that, but what I felt into the situation. And it's like, what I felt was the thing, was I said something about, this feeling space and what they were talking about, and I got like this whole horrified look thing. But then it was like energetically, my grandfather was communicating. It's like my grandfather's demons were communicating with my mother's demons. And he said, energetically, he did not verbally speak this, but what I felt in the energy of this space was like his demons, as he's staring at me all horrified, saying she's going to ruin us or be the end of us or something, and she has to be stopped, kind of a thing. And my mother being in agreement with that. And it's like, that wasn't specifically verbalized, but it's like everything that I felt from the situation. Mind you, all these cancer placements, I feel a whole lot. So I just didn't realize like there were actual things that I was receiving from it until I started like breaking it down. It's like, oh, I remember being there, and I remember this whole thing, and I remember this feeling. But since at the time they did not speak it, I just remember feeling it, and then it was like there was this whole shift, and like it turned into this thing of trying to keep me from being able to use my voice and speak my truth. And I've talked about the various ways that they use shame and guilt, and realizing when I was 35 that the shit I was being shamed for hadn't even actually happened, but because they were so set on me being a problem and having to be stopped, that was basically how they lived and treated me, was I was a problem, and I grew up thinking that I was a problem and that my existence was wrong, was flawed somehow, and I shouldn't be here and all this stuff. And of course, I've talked about how, my grandparents were assholes to my dad as well, and how, certain things my brother actually heard from them, and I just felt, because I was feeling everything and not knowing where any of it was coming from and not knowing where I was getting this information, but I had this information, and then what do you do with this information, right? But always knowing that, like, my grandparents, my mom actively hated my grandma, at the very least, and I basically was raised to hate this other side of myself. And like the big thing was, like, when it was just me and my brother was always the favorite. We both knew this, and that's grandparents and, mom and all that stuff. And I think with mom, it was more because she was able to manipulate his emotions as well. There's a whole lot of it. Anyway, as I've been sending him these videos, and I was thinking about like this truth teller bit, it's like, and she's talking about the truth tellers becoming the scapegoats. It's like, man, yep. And I've talked several times about how anytime I was alone in a room with my grandfather, it's like he couldn't sit there silently. I could sit there silently and not be a problem. He had to find the thing about me that was different. You got a thing in your lip. Why do you always got to do everything different? You got two of the ugliest cats in the world. You got damn geckos, tattoos, and now you're going to do a motorcycle class. It's like everything I did was wrong, and like I was really proud of myself the time when he said, he spewed off all that bullshit about the ugly cats, because mind you, it was only acceptable. My great grandpa was part of this too, my great grandparents both, selectively offing the kittens. My grandma said she could only do it when they were wet, because they had just been born, like that kind of new, and if I found them first, she couldn't do it, so before me, there were only white cats on that farm. After me, there was a little variety. Not a whole lot, because, she still would find many of them before I found them, but I found several of them. And I was always into the ones with the little white kittens with the little gray spots on their head, because it was different. Because all the rest of these cats were just like completely white, but then it's like they grew out of the spots. So I don't know. But like there's the whole ordeal, like okay. My mom's parents told my mom's youngest sister she could take me over to their cousin's house because their cat had kittens, and I could pick out the kitten, right? I picked out the wrong kitten, because I loved this little black female kitten that they had, and so we took that back to my grandparents' house because my grandparents told my aunt to let me pick it out. And I was devastated when we had to return it because I picked the wrong one. I was supposed to pick the little white male kitten that they had. So we had to take the little black kitten that I loved and that I got to pick out. I had to take it back over there and come back with the white one because I had selected the wrong choice, right? it's just like, stumbling across these videos, it's just like I didn't anticipate going this route again. I've talked about this before. But it's like, just like all the different things that, like, piecing together all the different ways that, you know, I was, like, in that, like, I was allowed to pick it, but then I picked wrong, so we had to go back. And it's like, who does that? There's something fucking wrong with those people. There's a whole lot fucking wrong with those people. You know, and I was watching one where she's talking about, like, toxic people versus actual narcissists. And it's like, okay, so as I've been kind of piecing this together, it's like, my mom and my grandfather, absolutely in that narcissism category. My dad, I feel like his started more from the toxicity, but as he's been around my mom more, he's shifting, where he has this huge narcissistic flair now too. And like, he's always been kind of one of her flying monkeys kind of a thing. And doing her bidding, and I've talked about that on here sometimes, where, you know, like, me and my brother don't respond to something appropriately, so he comes in to be my brother calls him the knight in creaky armor. Because, like, he shows up to do mom's bidding whenever we've pissed her off and that kind of a thing. But it's like, he's teetering because it's like he's right there on the verge of being the narcissist himself. And, like, my mom full out is. My grandfather completely was. This is where I was going here. Okay, when I had that conversation with my mother back in December, the last time I was around my grandfather, he died on the 3rd. I think I had the conversation with her on December 1st, I want to say. I'll have to look that up. Luckily, I have all these journals. I can do that. It was either the very end of November or the first day of December, because he came home on December 3rd, or December 2nd, and died on December 3rd. And he would have held out for my mom's birthday had she not said, "You cannot die on my birthday." Yeah, which is also my sister-in-law's birthday, but that's irrelevant when it comes to my grandfather's death and all this stuff, right? So anyway, the day that I went to the hospital that very last time, and it was all sorts of jacked up for various reasons, and I told my mom that at some point it had to be okay for that man to die. You know, and I got after her and my grandma both several times for, "Oh, you can't die. What are we going to do when you're not here? We're too stupid to do anything on our own." That kind of bullshit. Because he raised that, he raised my mom and my aunts thinking that they were stupid and had to, you know, yield to everything he did. He was the only smart one in the house, and, you know, just whatever dumb shit that he was doing. So I told her back then, it's like, first off, because she tried to throw the codependency thing at me. It's like, yeah, because you raised me this way. So I'm trying to figure it out, and we're just going to ride this out until I figure it out, because you made it, so I had to figure it out at freaking 41 rather than trying to figure it out while I was growing up, and this stuff could have been easier, you know, like when I was just on my parents' insurance until I was 26 or whatever. If I would have had those years to do what I wanted to do rather than to do what she wanted me to do so she could live vicariously through me because she couldn't have her own life. Anyway, going back to the thing, I told her then, I was like, besides, it's like, Randa's pregnant. Who's to say he won't come back? I think that man has come back. I said it then, and I was pretty confident that that was the case, right? I am confident that is the case. And it was so funny. The other day I was thinking about it. It's like, man, I love my cousin. You know, we used to be really close for a lot of years, and now she's like, she's still into the churchy stuff, and I'm not at all. So it's like we just don't talk anymore, or it's like really awkward. But we used to be really close, and it's like that baby. I've never been more uninterested in finding out. I mean, no, I've been pretty uninterested in finding out people have had babies and whatnot. And like, I'm more than happy to stay out of that stuff, right? It's okay. Somebody else's kid. Cool. Keep it over there. Not that I don't want kids or anything, or that I have a problem with kids. I loved the kids that I worked with when I was working at the daycare. It's just, there's a whole bunch of other things going on. And now it's like, I've seen a couple pictures of that child, and he was making expressions that was like, that is my grandfather right there. And, okay, my grandfather's name was Donald. This kid's middle name is Donald, so she kind of invited it too, so, you know, but she has a lot less disdain than I did for him, obviously, since she partially named her child after him. Is the whole thing, you know. Okay, so my mom had to put in the request that you can't die on my birthday kind of a thing. So he didn't. But I think he was going to try to. I absolutely think that. I've mentioned about how he basically, you know, as soon as he moved back up here from Oklahoma, he was literally hijacking every single birthday, holiday, any kind of event to obsess over his death. And like, that was the only thing we were supposed to care about, was that man dying. And it's like, I was 8. I think they moved up here right after I turned 8, or right around the time I turned 8. But it's like, literally, ever since then, it was always about his death. The man had cancer, you know, it went into remission a few times. Leukemia went into remission a few times. But he came back because he was never grateful that it had gone away. It was, this is going to be the shit that kills me. This will be the thing that kills me. This will be the thing that kills me. And that was always the obsession. So when it went away and it didn't kill him right then it was like, the next thing. What's the next thing? You know, so he's always waiting for the bottom to drop out, right? So it was literally just nonstop obsessing over this man's death. And then back in August, I've talked about how I hit that point where I was just like, I have mourned your death for 33 years and you're not dead yet, so I'm not going to do it anymore. And I have been successful at that. There was like a moment of, why does everybody else have like this completely different experience than I do? Like, there was a brief mourning time for coming to that awareness and really sitting with that point. And, you know, the fact that I didn't have the same relationship with them as anyone in the family did. And it was always this big traumatic thing. But then it's like, as I've been piecing it together, it's like, they literally, okay, my brother was acceptable because he was into sports. I was into music, so I was a problem because I did not fit in. However, since the music came in on my dad's side, you know, that was just another one of those things that they had against my dad. So then it's like, my mom was kind of a shit about going to see my dad's family when I was growing up. Like, my brother and I had some conversations. Like, I remember one weekend it was so bad that when we were going out to my grandparents' house, we were in the back seat talking about who would you live with if they got divorced. So, you know, and my mom always talks about how terrible my grandma was to her, and it's like, oh, based on what I know of, now that I'm not being manipulated by you all the time, based on what I'm seeing and what I am experiencing of this now, oh, I don't think it was just all her. Now, granted, I will definitely not say my grandma was without flaws by any means, because she was definitely a whole hot mess in and of herself. But, yeah, it's like, we always were coerced into believing what my mom said about everything, but it's like, what role did she have in this also? Because I promise you she had some kind of role in it, because everything has always been about her. So, yeah. That's like a big thing. It's like, my brother sent me a screenshot of their conversation, because she said she wanted him and her to go out to lunch sometime before they go to Oklahoma. And he's just like, because we know what that's going to be. She wants to isolate him away from me and away from his wife, so she can try to bully him and coerce him back into being who she raised him to be for her. And it's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. It's like, I should send him that message of no is a complete sentence. If she wants only you, just say no. So, but why? Because she's freaking coercive as hell. And I sat down with my brother and sister-in-law yesterday and was talking to them for a while. It's like, this is not the opportunity for me to leave. I said, I feel like right now we're just going to ride this out until you guys are in Oklahoma, but I feel like this is the start of a whole lot of stuff that's like going to start moving really fast. And I said, I feel like I will be saying some things very soon, and I do feel like my time to get out of here is right around the corner. I said, but I think I'm going to need to say some things before that happens. And right now we're just kind of biding the time until y'all get out of here. Of course, it's also Mercury retrograde, so we don't need to overly complicate it beyond what's already complicated on that end. And Venus retrograde, and I don't know what else is retrograde at the moment, but holy fuck, there's like, and we're in eclipse season. So maybe not right now. There's too much going on. And like all of these things that are happening, it's like everything I've seen, like on the big ones for like the signs that are like especially affected at this time, Cancer and Capricorn are both on there. And it's like, of course I have all these Cancer placements. My brother has multiple Capricorn placements, not as much as I have Cancer, but still. He does have some Virgo too. Oh, that's another thing. I looked up, my aunt said what time my cousin's baby was born. He was born on my cousin's 30th birthday, so it's like right there. I mean, I don't think she cares about sharing her birthday with her child, her first child at that, but at the same time, still kind of a funny thing to note, because he was all about hijacking everything. And my mom had to specifically say, you can't die on my birthday, before it was okay for him to die the day before. But then she still had to deal with it on her birthday, because it was still very new, and they still spent a huge chunk of time at the funeral home that day, so he still kind of did. But yeah, one of the things I was looking at, like, I've heard, okay, this is like where like that karma piece tied in with like the soul's life lessons is like so very obvious. It's like the date this kid was born, the time he was born, running his birth chart. He has more Pisces placements than I have Cancer placements, but then he also has Cancer placements. He has like 6 Pisces placements and 2 Cancer placements, I think. I was like, and I just had this like really strong sense. Like I saw it myself the other day having this conversation with my family, where I just kind of was like, dude, that is totally that old man in that little bitty body. And and like specifying, it's like soul lessons wise, he's clearly here to learn the other side of it. He was unruly as the patriarchal figure that he was, and now he's got all these like emotional placements. It's like, whoa, good luck, kid. I know it's like the soul lessons and everything. Anyway, I read somewhere along the line that the North Node is like where you're moving toward, and like future focused kind of things, and the South Node is like what you accomplished or in the last life or something, lessons you've already mastered or whatever. And I don't know, but this baby's south node is in Virgo, which was my grandpa's sun sign. So it's like, I am confident just with all the pieces that I'm seeing. It's like, and especially with the pictures that I've seen of this child, is like, that is my grandfather reincarnated. Oh my God. It's insane. My brother and I have had, good conversations about it. My sister-in-law as well, but it's like, ooh. Just knowing that it's like, this is a fresh start. This is, little baby got to start all over and gonna try it all again. But little baby got all this water element in his chart. He's in for a doozy. But yeah. Oh, what a trip. But yeah. I mean, going back to those videos that I was talking about, it's like when she was talking about, Dr. Ramani talking about like toxic versus narcissist, it's like toxic would be like my grandmother. And, because she always has negative things to say about everybody. And she is like literally one of the most spiteful people that I have been around. Even though she talks all this way about her, yay Jesus. It's like, clearly you are somebody that did not pay the least bit of attention to anything his life was supposed to represent, because you are the most miserable person I know of. I mean, aside from, okay, it's just like her, my grandfather, and my mother, and it was just, oh my God. Anyway, I don't know how I'm getting out of here, but I'm confident that the universe has something lined up. Something is coming about in the near future for me. So we're going to stay positive on that and continue thanking the universe for that every single day, even when we don't see it just yet, because I know something's coming. But I do want to get home and get that package, hopefully before anybody else has had the time to see it's out there, because I don't want them pissing all over this thing for me, right? I didn't know I was going to get a prize package because, as I've said many times, if I knew that contest came with a prize package of any kind of sort, aside from just the opportunity for my picture to be the centerfold of this little zoo magazine, I wouldn't have done it, because I was raised to think that I was not worthy enough to have something do well. So it's like, if I would have known there was a prize package, and it's like, oh, well, I'm not worth it, so I wouldn't do that, right? Bullshit. And turns out, my picture freaking won, so that's pretty cool too, and I'm not letting them piss all over everything with that anymore. Even though that is something that my mom was all excited about. Like, I saw it when we were on, I don't know if we were going to Greenfield the other day or coming back from, but she started spouting on, or she started saying, or she goes, well, I guess I won't be renewing the zoo membership this year. It's like, no kidding. Why would you? The kid's not going to be around anymore. But knowing that and feeling very much like that was a gloat, because she didn't know how to ruin this bear thing for me until then. And then it was like, I'm not going to get this, so you won't be able to do the pictures anymore. So you won't be able to have this thing that does well without me in the middle of it. Yes. Last night I woke up at I went to bed at 10:30 and then woke up at 1:30 and couldn't go back to sleep. And then around 2:45 I got up and went ahead and fed the dogs and then ate something myself. And when I went back to bed, I turned the light on and I wrote for a little while. It's starting book direction like this. I've been saying many times on my journey, asking for basically that the universe was going to have to write this book through me, kind of a thing. And it's I think Dr. Ramani's videos coming across my way was kind of to serve as an inspiration point on getting started, truly getting started, because this feels completely different. And a big part of it is because, I've got my boundaries now and they're pretty good and established, and my mom is not overly able to affect me very much. And like, she's still trying to poke and try to get in and affect me in some kind of way, and it is driving her nuts that she is not able to do it like she used to. And yeah. I like that. Actually, it was kind of funny. Okay, Twin Flame Page, I came across something he posted the other day where he's talking about, for like the past several weeks, he's had like all these dreams of like fighting people. It's like, he said something about it, and my immediate thought was, you already know the answer if you go within, right? Because I found that information several times. And like, as I've kind of sat with that more, it's like, I asked for help. And I think energetically speaking, it's happening. There's a lot more going on in these energetic levels than, I can even really imagine until I hear somebody else say something. It's like, especially that one that's the direct connection, because this is like another aspect of me, right? Which, I mean, essentially we all are aspects of each other as well, because we are all part of the whole. So, but anyway, like, he was talking about that. It was like, that's something I sat with this morning for a while too. It's like, I feel like that's also probably a big part of why my mother is unable to affect my energy right now. And it's like, because I'm not alone in this whole thing. Like, I know I've never been alone in this, and now that I'm having all this other stuff to play into that and to realize, hey, it's working out. I kind of like it. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to go home and see what I got in this prize package. And as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.